Well, Heidi Ho campers. As you can guess from the title, this isn't all a happy video. So, yeah, I had another fish loss this morning. I decided to do a quick video of the said fish because it was confusing me a little. Most of the fish that have been popping off have had ulcerations or mouth rot or something like that. And this one, apart from being pink, was clean. Didn't have any ulcers, no mouth rot, nothing really noticeable apart from very sunken eyes. When I say very sunken, they were literally back into the skull sunken, and a dint on his nose, like a notch. So I sent it to my old mugger, Davey, the black country koi bloke. There you go, you got your shout out. Who said, well mate, it looks like KHV to me from everything I've ever seen. So I thought, well, you're confirming what I'm thinking here. So I then sent the video to that other old mucker, Vince Twisted Koi, who we know has had KHV in the past from loads of Israeli koi. And he said, I've watched that video about 4 or 5 times and that's really distressing, mate. He said, I think that's KHV. So I then got hold of Gary, Gatwick Koi. We all know he's suffered with KHV in the past. I sent him the video and he asked me several questions, and all the questions I was going, yep, we've got a funny smell around the pond, yep, loads of foam on the water. He said, what are the gills like? I said, well, I haven't actually got a video of that. I said, but they didn't look too bad. He said, have you noticed any of them with gill problems? I said, well, yeah, I've had a couple with a bit of necrosis to the gills. I said, you're going to tell me it's KHV, aren't you? He said, well, it's hard to tell without an actual diagnosis. But from everything I'm seeing and everything you're telling me, yep, I think it's KHV. So I rang DEFRA, and DEFRA said, right, you need to speak to, well, mine's just gone blank, CEFAS. So I rang CEFAS. I spoke to a very nice guy called Luke down there, who basically said, well, without doing a test, but it sounds like KHV. Now, I got into a very deep conversation with him about KHV, and CEFAS obviously know what they're talking about. So this is verbatim from CEFAS. He said, my advice to you is to ride it out. He said, don't cull all your fish. He said, because the ones that survive will just continue and carry on. They'll be carriers of the virus, but it shouldn't affect them. What you'll find is it's what you call naive fish that will be affected. Sorry about the noise in the background, but it's naive fish that will be affected. Ones that haven't been exposed to the virus, that you'll find suffer worse. He said it's not a death sentence for oily fish. He said, at the end of the day, KHV is in the country. He said, we're never going to stop it. There is no vaccine for it, which I actually questioned and said, but don't the Israelis vaccinate against KHV? He said, that's not we class as a vaccine. He said it's not a true vaccine. So that was an interesting piece of information, that CEFAS don't actually class Israeli koi as vaccinated, and that there is no vaccine for KHV. He said that the virus in the summer months is far stronger. There's a much higher viral load. The viral load changes with the temperature. So in winter the viral load is much less. So it's acting very like bacteria in that when it's cooler, there's less of it. So he said, if you want to introduce fish to your pond, he said you can, but I would suggest introducing them in winter. He said because what will happen is they'll get exposed to a much lower viral load. Their immune system can generally cope with that. And as things warm up in the spring and the summer and things start to ramp up a little bit, they'll already have a certain level of immunity in their system that can deal with the virus, and yeah, it might knock them about a bit, it might be a bit sulky, but it won't kill them. Very similar to the way a vaccine works in that you introduce a small amount of the virus, be it dead or alive, and it gives the immune system a chance to work out how to kill it. Very similar to that sort of situation, as I see it. So my thoughts on my last video, that this wasn't bacterial, that it was viral, and it was acting very like herpes, seems to have been right. It is actually the koi herpes virus, but it's not a dead loss. It's not a dead loss. Obviously, all the fry are on a separate system. They've obviously been through the same stress events as the koi, with fish being added in, the grown show fish and the sakai fish and the tanchagoshki. They're going through probably even more temperature fluctuations than the main pond because it's a much smaller body of water. And I don't seem to be losing fish in there. So touch wood, fingers crossed, because it's on a separate system. Nothing gets, I never cross over nets between ponds. Obviously there's the odd time where you'll forget, but I always try and keep everything separate. One set of stuff for one system, one set of stuff for another. My nets get dipped. They sit in a bowl full of Virkon Aquatic. Very strong dose. I may even get some Virkon S and start dipping my nets in Virkon S. That's what CEFAS have suggested. If you do strip the pond and clean it, use Virkon S, and then literally just blast everything with Virkon S, give everything a really good clean, drain it all down, let it dry out, leave it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then your system should be sterilised, according to CEFAS anyway. That's the information they've given me. Obviously I'm not selling koi, so they're not going to come out, they're not going to do tests or anything like that. It's different if you're a dealer. If you're selling koi, they would obviously come out and assess the situation. Because I'm not selling koi at the moment, I have told them I intend to. I have told them that I'm putting in the application for the pet trader's license and everything else, and they've still said, well, it's all on separate systems, so you should be fine. Whether I actually sell those fry or whether I just go too much of a risk and put them in the main pond and start all over again, I don't know yet. At the moment, it doesn't appear that they've been caught up in it. I may try doing some heat ramping and see what happens. I've got a couple of heaters I can put in there. I'll see if I can get them up into, well, they'll heat ramp themselves with this heat wave in the next week, so they're going to have a bit of up and down temperature wise, so we'll see what happens there. So yeah, I'm going to be in for a rough ride of it. I'm not going to cull all my fish in the pond because I just don't want to go through that, and I will literally, sorry, the 3-year-old is sneaking in behind me. I can see him out the corner. Did you see that poke up? Riley, Daddy's doing a video. You're so cheeky. Look at you, spiky hair. Your hair's worse than mine. Yeah, I don't want to lose all my fish basically, and I'm prepared to not add anything in and just let them live out their best life. Do not hit me with that fly swat. Daddy's doing a video. Bye. Go and get mummy with it. Go get mummy with it. Go on. Go. That's it. That's got rid of him. Yeah, so I'm going to give the fish their best life. I can't handle the thought of culling them, to be fair. They have two choices. They survive or they don't. Simple as that. Some people may say you need to cull them. It is a separate system to anything else I'll be running, so I'm sorry, I just got a text message. I'm prepared to take that risk. Everything else will be. I'm just going to pause this video for a sec. Hang on, guys. Alright. He always wants to muck about when I'm trying to be a little bit serious. Where was I? Yeah, I've got enough fish in the pond that I was actually at the point where I wasn't going to add any more anyway. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is building another system for any koi I want to buy in the future. And run a separate pond for them. I've been dabbling with the idea of building another pond anyway, but that'll be for another year. It won't be this year. So everything was seeming very, very dark yesterday, and yeah, it's nice to know it's not a death sentence for all the fish. And now we have the dogs barking. Wonderful. And that those that do survive it will probably go on to live to a ripe old age. I think it does, however, knock on my plans for spawning any of them. Right, so we'll try again. He always wants to muck about when I'm being serious. So yeah, I mean, I got to the point with the pond where I wasn't planning on adding anything else anyway. So I'm going to ride out the storm, see what survives, and we'll go from there. Knocked on the head any plans of me spawning fish in there, but it is what it is. I'll probably end up building another pond. I've been toying with the idea anyway, but that'll be for another year, hopefully when Skegness Pond Supplies is a little bit more a little bit busier, shall we say, a little bit more turnover, and I'm hopefully making a little bit of money out of it. Apart from that, everything else is pretty good. Now, what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to put that clip of the fish up, and this is so that people can see what you're looking for, and you'll see what I mean. So if that sort of thing really upsets you, I'd click off now. Well, I say click off now. Actually, before that, I'm going to put another little clip, because as you know, I put a little short up of a goldfish spawning orgy, and just for giggles I took the brushes out and chucked them in a vat of water, and I kept having a look and kept seeing the eggs, and the eggs I'd put a bit of malachite in there as you do, and the eggs had started to go a bit fungusy, and I thought, nothing going to come out of that. And I looked in it yesterday. I thought I really must take those brushes out and chuck them away, clean them off and get rid of the water. And after speaking to CEFAS, I went and cleaned one of my filters, and I was just walking back, and something caught my eye. And I thought it was mosquito larvae at first. And I looked, and there was this little eyelash. And I looked again, and there were 2, 3, 4, bloody loads of them. So whether they're goldfish or whether they're koi, I don't know. Have no clue. I'm guessing they're goldfish. But out of the darkness comes a little bit of light. So first, before the distressing video, I'll put up a little video clip of the fry. I'm assuming they're goldfish because the goldfish were spawning at the time, but there could be anything in there with my pond. So we'll see what happens with them. And then I'll finish off with the distressing one of the fish that died this morning. And this was the one that really triggered it. Before anyone asks, I don't know where it came from. I don't know how long it's been in the pond. In the conversation with the guy at DEFRA, he said they have fisheries. I can't remember if I've already said this, but they have fisheries. One fishery this guy went to, they hadn't added any fish at all into that pond for 15 years. Not one. Had the same stock in it for 15 years. And they had a KHV outbreak. And the thinking is that, like cold sores, like human herpes, it can lie dormant in a fish for years and years and years and years and years. And just like herpes, like cold sores, a stress event will trigger it, and it will take advantage of the stressed event and take advantage of the weakened immune system from a stress event. So I am not pointing fingers at anyone. I am not surmising it has come from anywhere. I've had fish from people's ponds, not the people's pond, from people's ponds, pond closures. I've been given fish, I've bought fish from lots of different sources. I can't pinpoint it. It could have come into my pond this season. It could have come into my pond 2 years ago. It could have come into my pond from my dad's pond. I just don't know. I can't tell. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because none of my fish are going anywhere into anyone else's pond. You could pay me £10,000 for one of my fish at the moment, and I would not sell it to you under any circumstances. I would not put my worst enemy through what I've been through in the last week. Not anyone. It's horrendous. But they have 2 choices now. They survive or they don't. There is no intervention for KHV. There is nothing you can do. There is no treatment for it. So nature will decide, and I won't be throwing hundreds of pounds worth of treatments in there knowing that whatever you throw in isn't going to work, because whatever it shows up with, whether it's an ulcer or whatever it is, it's secondary to the KHV. It's the KHV weakening the fish, and that is what's doing it. So even if you treat it, it still doesn't take away, it's still not going to take it away because the KHV has weakened the fish too much. And yeah, I know I'm going around in circles and waffling a bit, but my head is all over the place. I've never ever seen anything like this. when Vince talks about it, you get an idea. Living it is a totally different thing. So anyway, a little bit of the light, little 20-30 second video of the fry, the baby fry, not the frying, but the baby fry. They're probably about a day old. I did manage to catch them on film. And then once that comes on, you'll know that in about 15-20 seconds it's going to switch to the disturbing video. So if that's going to upset you, or you don't want to see it, please, when you see the baby fry, click off, because it isn't a pretty sight. It is there for educational purposes, so that people can see what it looks like, what your fish will probably look like. And if you see these signs, then you really need to think about what you're doing. Not add any more fish, not let any fish out of your pond. If you see any of these sunken eyes, dipped in nose, please guys, don't go swapping your fish about. Just don't do it, because you'll infect someone else's pond, and it will spread and it will kill. So yeah, just think about what you're doing. But if you see any signs like this fish, if you're getting lots of ulcerations for no apparent reason that you can't control, you can't treat, pay very close attention to the eyes and the nose, and that'll be your indicator. And if it's hitting new fish that you introduced to the pond before anything else, that's also a very good indicator, because they are, as the CEFAS guy said, naive fish. They have no immunity to it, whereas fish that have been in your pond for a while probably have got some immunity. So all these things add up to KHV, and I've not experienced anything like it, and I certainly don't want to go through it again. So here's the video clips, mate. There are literally hundreds of them. Right, just give you an idea of what we're dealing with. Sunken eyes. I mean, we're talking seriously sunken. As you can see, all the face is sucked in. Absolutely sunken in. We've got red fins, redness around there, redness around the mouth. Apart from that, there's no ulceration on this one. So really difficult to say what it is. This is the latest one that's died. I thought I'd document it a bit more in detail. But this isn't ulcerating. This is I don't know. It's bizarre.